I'm doing genetic counseling in Detroit, and a woman comes in. Why are you here? I'm here because I'm 35 years old. I'm pregnant and I have cystic fibrosis. I'm a geneticist. Why are you here? Well, because I want you to tell me if I should have an abortion. She gets angry, stalks out of the room, slams the door. 3 days later, she calls me on the phone. I decided to have the abortion. So I told her, telling her what to do. She said, I want to tell you something. You were the 13th person that I saw, and you were the first one who didn't tell me abortion. And by the way, I'm Catholic. She agonized for 3 days to make one of the most difficult decisions in her life. But for me, as science is a tool to empower you to make choices.
Welcome to the Millionaire Momentum Show, where lifestyle meets business and abundance and impact align. Abundance is who you are, and impact is what happens when you share it. Join Aly Porter and Elise Smith as we spotlight entrepreneurs building their millionaire lives. Together, we'll explore faith, business growth, AI, and the stories, mindsets, and strategies behind real success, and discover how you can step into the millionaire life you were made for. Welcome to another episode of the Millionaire Momentum Show. I am your host, Aly Porter, aka your Freedom Connector. And today we have a special guest with us. His name is Dr. Fredric Abramson. And Dr. Abramson has a fascinating career in diverse fields. His early work was in rock and roll, where he produced records and helped produce rock and roll shows in Philly and New York. He worked in retail sales, wholesale distribution, manufacturing, high school teaching, and 40 years of university level teaching, as well as computer software, data analytics, AI, software business development, and almost 40 years in business, technology, and copyright law. Is there anything you don't do? Fredric, oh my gosh, that's amazing. He founded Golden Thread Technology and Fresh Start Science to deliver personalized wellness genetic solutions designed to improve a person's everyday life. And so we're going to be talking about that today. But I just, first of all, have to say, do you ever sleep?
Actually, I get 8 hours of sleep all the time because it lets me stay alive and awake during the day.
Perfect. I love that answer. That's awesome. Well, let's kind of go behind the curtains a little bit. Let's peek behind the curtain. Where did all of this come from? Like, I know you've been doing so much, obviously, from your bio. You have done so much over your lifespan, but why now? Why this? Like, what was kind of the catalyst that propelled you forward to create this amazing product and solution for people?
Thank you, Aly. I've always been focused on the practical side of things. And I think it goes back to my time in rock and roll and retail, because if you someone's song, you're not going to buy the record. You're not going to go into the show. And so you got to be able to deliver things that people want to use. And I've been very fortunate to have been able to get a career in technology and computer software starting in the 60s, doing the first AI system in the 70s for healthcare, but also understanding more about the practical side of business and technology and science. And teaching Johns Hopkins in biotechnology, where I was teaching the business courses. I taught economics of biotechnology, managerial finance, creating the biotech enterprise, ethical, legal, regulatory issues in biotechnology. My students pointed out that they said, we finished the Human Genome Project. And I said, it's time to bring genetics out of the darkness of death and dying into everyday life so people could use it to make everyday decisions. And that's very different than most people in bio. The other thing to share is that sometimes you have a singular event that impacts your life.
Yeah.
And I was in human genetics. And after I got my degree, my PhD in human genetics and population planning at University of Michigan, I was doing genetic counseling in Detroit. And Jim Neal, the founder of human genetics, always said, never tell somebody what you think they should do. Give them choices so they can make the choice of what they think they should do. I'm doing genetic counseling in Detroit, and a woman comes in. Why are you here? I'm here because I'm 35 years old. I'm pregnant and I have cystic fibrosis. I'm a geneticist. Why are you here? I'm here because my doctor tells me if I go to term, I could die. I'm a geneticist. Why are you here? Well, because I want you to tell me if I should have an abortion. Now, this is before Roe v. Wade, okay? So I said, if you want abortion, I'll get the University of Michigan to do it for cause. You want to go to term, I'll get the OBGYN department to work with you to get the best outcome possible. You have to tell me what you want to do. She gets angry, stalks out of the room, slams the door. 3 days later, she calls me on the phone. I decided to have the abortion. So I told her, telling her what to do. She said, I want to tell you something. You were the 13th person that I saw, and you were the first one who didn't tell me abortion. And by the way, I'm Catholic.
Wow.
Boom. That was the message. She agonized for 3 days to make one of the most difficult decisions in her life. But for me, as science is a tool to empower you to make choices, and they may not be choices that you feel comfortable with and facing, but they're still your choices, not my choices. Okay? And so when I started the journey of wellness genetics, I drew on my experience in the weight loss field because I was general counsel and chief scientist to a weight loss company called Fit America. Great name, by the way. Don't you love it?
Oh, yeah.
And I was also part of the Federal Trade Commission's Consumer Weight Loss Coalition. And I'm listening to all these gurus telling us about if you don't lose weight, you're going to get diabetes or cancer or heart disease or whatever, and you're going to die. And I'm listening to this. And the other statistic they quoted was, well, actually, there's 2 more that your listeners may find interesting. Every 100 overweight people, 20 don't care, 60 have given up. And of the other 20, 1 will lose weight and keep it off a year.
Wow.
That's 1 out of 100.
That's
Right.
crazy.
That's not bragging. Out of every 100 people on a weight loss plan, 80 are women and 20 are men. They said
Wow.
men don't try to lose weight and let's survive their first heart attack. And I said if they don't survive, it's permanent weight loss, but nobody cares. I'm looking at weight loss, and we had stores up in New York. And again, these are experiences that shape your thinking, okay? And I'm talking to the people in these, most of them are women. And finally, I would say, Aly, why are you here to lose weight? Think of what the woman would have said to me, lied, face to face. Turns out the first reason was, I don't want my husband to mess around on me. They use stronger language, but in the interest of, no. The second reason was, I get tired walking the steps. The third reason was, I'd like to look like I did 30 years ago, 20 years ago. And once in a while, somebody says, I worry about heart disease. I said, this is amazing. They're not thinking about 10 years out. They're living today. And I actually went back to the meeting and told them the only people who live in Tomorrowland are in Disney World. Everybody else lives to Dayland.
Yeah.
Those are experiences that shape my thinking. And my thinking about genetics is, if I can make your DNA information useful to you to make decisions about your life today, you will be happy because it's about making a decision today. And one of the things I did, I invented a procedure called precision nutrition, which is to match your genetic makeup against what you put in your body to get better outcomes. So that's been part of but I'll stop and let you in because I can go on and characterize things, but you probably have a nice focused question.
I love it. I love it. I mean, I could just listen to you for hours. I remember when we had met and you kind of told me a little bit of what you do and everything. And I think we talked for like 30 minutes, but 25 of those minutes, I was just riveted. So I know we could go forever, but I really love the fact that you allowed that woman, whether you agree or disagree with her decision, obviously it was her life that was on the line. You know what I'm saying? And so the fact that you gave her that choice was the catalyst to then help you to see, okay, I want to give people choice. I want to allow them the ability to be able to choose to be healthier, to live longer, to all of those things. And I believe that so often we just need someone to believe in us, that we have the ability to like make our own choices, you know? And I believe that in the work that you're doing, where you're pairing the person's genetics with the perfect nutrition for them to help them, it is their choice. Like there is no way for it to get messed up other than they choose not to do it because you have the science behind it. And so talk to me a little bit more in depth about what that looks like when you're able to pair that nutrition with their genetics. Tell me a little bit more about how that works.
Well, I'll give you one example in the area of injury prevention, because I think we could focus on the genetics to reduce injuries to athletes, but also you mentioned Fresh Start Science, which is something to help young single moms. In the injury prevention area, I got into that because my students from Hopkins showed me a science paper out of Stanford where they gave 14 triathletes their genetic data and their injury rate went down 44%.
Wow.
I said, that's a home run.
Wow.
Clearly, it's actionable.
Yeah.
But you have to know the DNA. You have to know the actions, choices to make in sports. So, for example, if you have a higher risk of an ACL tear in soccer, well, adjust how you're warming up, how you train, maybe the equipment you're wearing. For example, if you're wearing regular sneakers and you're playing on grass, your foot slides with your body. But if you're playing on artificial turf, when you turn your body, your feet don't move, which means you're going to throw up your knee. So you have different shoes for environments. So to me, that was the beginning of the process of saying with injuries, nutrition and injury. There's a science that shows the risk of a 6-year-old kid breaking a bone when they fall is inversely related to the amount of vitamin K in their body.
Wow.
Feed them vitamin. But here's the issue. There's a gene for how fast you metabolize vitamin K. So suppose you have 2 kids, Michael and Susan, and Michael's the fast metabolizer, Susan's a slow metabolizer. Who needs more vitamin K? Michael, because he's burning it. So now
Interesting.
you begin to calibrate what you're doing with your body against what your body does with the stuff you're doing.
Mhm.
That's all. So that sets a framework. And the other thing that you mentioned, which I'll talk about, is how to use wellness genetics to present an aha moment for a person. If I can give you an aha moment about yourself, you can begin using that as a mechanism to move forward. And I began focusing on young single moms because they tend to have been exploited and abused.
Yeah.
They tend to see no future for themselves. And just so people who are listening to this, in America today, 40% of all the kids born are born to single mothers. It's 1 million a year. That means it's not a trivial issue.
Yeah.
And I'm not making any judgment about them as single moms. That just is a situation they're in. But having worked with that population in the 60s, when there was no technology to help them, it was impossible to get them to see a future for themselves. When let's talk about DNA. Suppose I did a DNA test on you and I said your DNA shows that you match up nicely with Beethoven and Mozart. Are you going to be mad at me for telling you?
Of course.
Are you kidding? You mean a value? You mean
Yeah.
there's some side me that is not something to take for granted?
Yeah.
You have to open the window and then they can start the process. I can build a better life. What are the other things in me that are valuable? What
Yeah.
can I use? My personality. For example, there's a gene for being a risk taker. There's a gene for shy. These are all part of who you are. So if you know, you say, okay, I am what I am. Popeye, right? I am what I am. But with coaching and with counseling, she could begin building a life. Now, I point out the reason for the coaching and counseling because in my life, I have been fortunate enough to have had people in a position of responsible position see in me things that even I didn't see, move me to the next level.
Yeah.
Those experiences and those people moving me into another thing means that it's now we can do the same thing at a broader level where the person can discover about themselves and say, now what do I do? Well, let's work with you, Alice, and see how you can be building a life that makes sense to you.
I love
I
that.
think this is the way to go. There's no downside. There's no accusations. There's no condemnation. This is who you are biologically. How does it fit into what you want to do in building a life for yourself? And also athletics. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I love the fact that it doesn't have to be an uncomfortable conversation. It can be an empowering conversation. It can be a like, okay, I am now going to change things. And like you said, give them hope and the ability to be like, it doesn't always have to be this way. Like I can actually become a better version of myself in so many different ways.
Let me give 2 examples that I tested out. When I tested this model 12 years ago. A one executive said, I go to meetings and I stand there and no one comes to talk to me. She had the gene for being shy. So she said, now that I know I'm shy genetically, I go to the meeting, I stand in the doorway and I greet everyone. Hi, Aly, I'm speaking. And everyone knows my name and they come talk to me. Or the father whose son tested positive for a gene for not learning from mistakes. We have a term for kids who don't learn from mistakes. We call them stupid. But he went to the school and said to the teacher, he's not stupid. He has a gene that doesn't let him learn from mistakes. You have to show him how to do it right the first time. Boom, it changed everything.
Wow.
That to me is the power that this brings. Those are not subjectively good, bad things. It is what it is. And then you could say, how do I adjust my world so that I get the outcomes I want, which is in school learning or in the case of an executive being able to talk to people without being uncomfortable.
Yeah. Oh, fascinating. So let me switch gears really quick. So we'll talk about OfferLab here in a second, which is the platform where you can have affiliates promote your offers. But before we talk about that, if I were to promote what you're offering, why would someone want to do that? Like, I mean, obviously I'm just like, oh my gosh, yes. Yes, because I can see the value in it. But when somebody is just learning about it or they don't know as much as I know, because we've had conversations and stuff about it. What is the reason behind why they would want to share it with others to help them?
That's a wonderful question. And I would say at the beginning, I have to get the prototype platform built so people can begin experiencing it.
Yeah.
But I would go back to my time in the music business. I can tell you all you want about songs that I like, but the fact is, until you hear the people sing or play, you don't know if you like it.
Yeah.
And you'll make up your own mind. And I learned that. I knew Sam Cooke and Jerry Lee Lewis. And anyone who's listening, if you Google Jerry Lee Lewis and look at some YouTube videos, the guy was a maniac. He did things playing the piano that you couldn't believe you do. But not everybody liked Jerry Lee Lewis. That's a matter of taste and comfort and so on. Well, the same is when this. Not everybody's going to say what Fredric is doing is wonderful. When I talk to people around the world and I have a presentation that I've shown to over 1,500 people in 30 countries, 90% of the moms, when it's finished, say, I'm in. Tell me when you're done, because I want my kid to feel safe.
Yeah.
Follow it close. Weekend warriors and then the dads.
Yeah.
Interesting feedback when I finished my presentation, which has some music attached to it. At the end, then people would say, by the way, Fredric, we have one piece of advice for you. When you do it in our country, don't do it in English. Well, Aly, to me, the message they're giving me is they expected to be in their country. Well, the guys told me to do it in their language.
Yeah.
And that goes to the issue you asked about earlier. I didn't realize until I got into this that we're talking about something that is universal. Everybody has DNA. Everybody knows it's there. We've just never had the tools to understand who we are at the biology level to make better informed decisions about our everyday life. And injury risk reduction is simply one band of a bigger picture.
Yeah. And I can see also in what you're doing, it's so much bigger than even what you're doing right now. It's going to keep expanding and expanding. So where do you see your business in the next 3 to 5 years?
After I get the prototype built, some early investment, if you put a head and said, where do you think you'd have business and how many customers you think you can get by Thanksgiving of 2027? I said, I think I 10 million customers.
Wow.
Right. Well, I've done a lot of things. I have never experienced the massive positive feedback that I get from people all over the world. It's like, where have you been?
Yeah. You're like, I'm working on it. I love that.
And I expect other people will begin doing it because whenever you get new technologies and solutions, other people copy it. We've got, 6 billion people in the world?
Oh, yeah.
Just consider the issue of obesity, okay? I mentioned weight loss thing, right? The 90s. Here are some statistics that shocked me from a month ago. In 1990, according to the article, there were 900 million obese people in the world in 1990.
Wow.
In 2020, it's 2.4 billion.
Oh, that's bad.
We're not going to solve it by yelling at people, telling them to die. It isn't working.
Yeah.
But if it's say to somebody, we can show you why a hot dog isn't your preference genetically. They say, oh, well, I can avoid a hot dog then.
Yeah. Make it easy for them, right?
Make it easy.
I love it. Again, I love the mission. I love what you're doing. I think it's going to be just amazing. So before we wrap up, I have 3 quick rapid fire questions for you. Number 1, what do you love or hate or use AI for?
I would start by saying again, I wrote the first AI system in healthcare in the 70s to reduce the risk of infection. AI, to me, is a very powerful tool. It helps us answer questions. It helps us ask questions.
Yeah.
It gives us insight into things that we normally wouldn't have the ability to do. And it goes beyond our personal abilities, for example, on how to write something. AI, write a letter to or write a note to an auto mechanic to help him understand why he needs to fix my car the right way. Then you could look at it and say, does it match what I would like to say? It makes it a lot easier to create things and learn things.
Yeah. Agreed.
I will ask AI, for example, how do I diagnose what the sound in my wife's car means in terms of understanding it? And it gave me this whole list of tests to do to figure out where the sound came from.
I hear you. I hear you. That's why I love AI for lots of different reasons. But yes, definitely for all of that you shared. And I do believe that, again, used correctly, it's an amazing tool. Okay, next question. What excites you about OfferLab?
The fact that it opens up connectivity.
Yeah.
Because we're not islands. We're not on our own. And we have to connect with people. And it's good to connect with people who have some shared core issues, core values in terms of doing things.
Yeah.
Because connecting with people who don't have those core values is a waste of time. And so that's, I see what makes sense. It allows a way of communicating where it's at least a common framework. It doesn't mean instantaneously you get a jillion people clamoring to be your best friend, but it means at least you have a starting point of commonality.
Yeah, agreed. And I'm so glad you kind of phrased it in that way because that's how I see it too. I think the more places that we can go where we're all connected, where we're all working for the common good of each other and of our inventions, of our businesses, of the things that we're doing, we can't help but win because we're not, like you said, working in silos anymore. We really are coming together as a collective. And I do believe the more that the mindset shifts around that, the better we'll be in general. I mean, it's just because I believe that if you can have your creation, the thing that you've created, and you can have people that want to offer that or promote it to other people, everybody wins, right? Like they didn't have to create what you created, but by the same token, they can still benefit from it and you can still benefit from it because you now have people that can help share it. And so I love that. And it really is just about community. It's about connecting with each other and really helping each other grow. And on top of that too, I hope those that are listening that do want to be an affiliate for Fredric, be a product of the product. Don't just like go out there and offer it without trying it first. And so with that being said, Fredric, if people want to
I want
work
to add
with you
something, Aly. I want to add
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
When I'm listening to you, I was reminded of my time in the music business. When you're in rehearsal and doing stuff, when a person's on stage playing, even in rehearsal, other musicians pay attention and hey, let's do something together. And that's where some of the great music gets created because
Yeah.
people say, let's form a band around these talents.
Yes.
And they end up creating things because they're sharing their strengths in a way that the collaboration with a goal of making people say, holy shit, this is really neat.
Oh yeah, amen. And that's kind of how I see so many things like Offer Lab, even, Millionaire Momentum. I see it being a collaboration more than a me show or a, whatever. I see it being so much bigger than just one person. And so I love that. Now, if people want to work with you, Fredric, where can they find you? Where can they connect with you to learn more about the wellness genetic solutions?
I think the easiest thing for almost everybody is LinkedIn. Because, I'm on LinkedIn. I've been on for a while. You can look me up, Fredric Abramson at goldenthreadtech.com. But that's a very narrow thing. LinkedIn is a universal platform. You go on LinkedIn and type my name, but make sure you spell it correctly. There's no E and no K. It's like Frederick March, the movie actor. I'll be the only one you'll find, which makes it easy
Perfect.
to move. And that's a start of a dialogue that we can have.
I love that. We'll go ahead and put all the links below so you can definitely connect with him on LinkedIn. You can also connect with him, on his website and everything too. But I just want to say thank you again for coming, for sharing your insight, for your wisdom, for all the things that you've done previous that have led up to this moment and how you kind of brought it all kind of full circle. It's just been so fascinating. And I'm so grateful that you are thinking about the health and wellness of this country and like what we can do better to change that, because one of our pillars inside of Millionaire Momentum is health and wellness. And I really believe that you can't enjoy your wealth, your prosperity, your life without your health, And so I completely agree with everything you're sharing and I'm excited to see where it goes. So can't wait.
Thank you so much. It means a lot to hear you say that. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for being here with us. And until next time, make sure that you stay in alignment, that you live with abundance, that you lead with impact. And together, let's create your millionaire momentum life. Take care, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the Millionaire Momentum Show. Remember, true freedom isn't measured by income. It's about living your life in alignment. And real wealth isn't just about money. It's about having the time to enjoy what matters most. Subscribe now, and if you found this episode valuable, share it, and we'll see you next time.